Alright guys, got another BiS video for you today. We're going over Holy Paladin, just like I talked about in our Rep Paladin video. I promised you this one was coming. Well, here we are. Holy Paladin's fun because it's just a game about getting as much intellect as possible, while also keeping in mind just a little bit of off pieces here and there that you're flexible with, not competing with loot with casters all too much, and just finding a way to get the largest mana pool possible. So, ton of fun class to build out. I hope you enjoyed this video. And just like with every BiS video, the first thing we're going to do is take a quick look at the talents and glyphs. These are the talents and glyphs that we're running with. One thing that we just want to point out here is we obviously go for the protection subspec. If you look up Holy Paladin guides online, you'll see a lot of them go with the ret subspec, getting conviction so that you get extra crit. It's extremely greedy, it's extremely stupid, and there's no reason for you to not get the divine sacrifice and protection. This is one of the most important raid cooldowns in the entire game, and it's your de facto choice as a Holy Paladin to obtain. I also see a lot of people going into toughness. For what reason, I'm not sure. Just to get you a little bit more armor for almost no value. What you're supposed to do is actually spec into improved Righteous Fury, as oftentimes you can just throw on Righteous Fury while you're healing. Healing aggro isn't quite as violent, I guess you could say, as it is in TBC. You can play with this equipped pretty much the entire time and just take a flat 6% reduced damage, which is just nice to have. These are the glyphs that you want to run. You could make a case for Glyph of Seal of Light. You obviously could drop Glyph of Holy Light for fight like Patchwork, but for the most part, these are going to be your 3 staple de facto glyphs to go with at all times. Now, let's go into the gear. So your helm, we're going to go with the Helm of Purified Thoughts. This is coming from Argent Crusade Exalted. Argent Crusade is probably your most important reputation and get up ASAP, as you're not only getting this helm, but you're also getting this ring from Argent Crusade. So getting that up first is going to be really important for you, as these 2 items are just crazy good for Holy Paladin. Your best in slot neck is definitely the Titanium Spell Shock Necklace. This is going to be worth your gold. It's a BOE from JC. But it's definitely worth it. It's really well itemized, has a gem socket for you to put intellect in. Just really good for Holy Paladin. Now shoulders, definitely some options here for shoulders. I'll give you a few. I do like running with the Sunwell Plateau shoulders, as this is going to give you the most amount of intellect, but basically for an equivalent item, you could just run Dark Runic Mantle. These are BOE coming out of Halls of Lightning. Oh no, Halls of Stone. And they will be pretty affordable for you to just purchase off the auction house, throw an intellect gem in them, and be done. Dark Runic Mantle is an absolutely banger choice for Holy Paladins pre-raid. Either one between these 2 items could be completely fine, but if you're able to just have Erupting Epaulets, or however you say that, before Wrath even comes out, then enjoy, because those are going to be perfect for you. Another quick shout out is these shoulders coming out of Utgard Pinnacle. These are perfectly fine. It's basically just a swap between haste and crit from the Dark Runic Mantle. Totally up to you. Cloak, another area where we have some options as well. My preferred choice is going to be the Cloak from Sunwell off of Kill Jaden. Has a socket for us to get a good amount of intellect off of. Has haste and spell power. Again, we love getting haste and spell power on anything that we possibly can. An additional option like your second BiS is definitely going to be Wisp Cloak. This is a tailor and crafted cloak. Gonna be a little pricey for, at the end of the day, a pretty mediocre cloak. Not something to get too excited about, but it is decent. And if you want a third option, you could also just go with the Oculus Cloak, having haste and spell power on it. Just not a whole lot of intellect, which is pretty disappointing. Your best slot chest is definitely going to be the tier chest coming from Emblem of Heroism. You can just farm up enough for this. Although there are some other options if you want to just purchase something to get you by. One good choice would be the Leatherworking Crafted mail chest, which is pretty decent. Definitely could hold you over for a little while. Has a good amount of intellect on it and spell power and haste. Totally fine chest piece here. Another one that I really like is the Kirantor Exalted chest. You'll probably just obtain this just naturally because as it goes with phase 0 and like pre-raid grinding, you're going to run a ton of dungeons and you're just going to get Kirantor Exalted up just by a matter of getting all of your reputations up. And eventually, like this chest piece is just solid to just hold you over until then. It's great. As for wrists, there's definitely a couple options, but the DTK Heroic Mail wrists are definitely your best, as it has haste and spell power. I guess you could say the Azure cloth bindings are decent as well, or even the Hajol Nerub plate wrists are decent as well too. But why would we not just go for the haste spell power ones, as this is going to give us the absolute most most bang for our buck. I also want to mention that we are enchanting our wrists with plus 16 intellect. I see a lot of BiS out there not enchanting their wrists with intellect. This is what you want to do as Holy Paladin. Go for the intellect enchant. Same with your weapon. I see so many Holy Paladin BiS having plus 63 spell power to your weapon. This is not correct. You're supposed to go with plus 30 intellect enchant to your weapon. Even if you have a Valenier, when you have Valenier, you're still going to enchant your Valenier with intellect. That is just what you do as Holy Paladin, and not doing it is just a complete blindside to optimization, and it's just silly. Do not miss out on this easy optimization here. But yes, your best weapon is by far going to be the Nexus Heroic weapon, as it does have a good amount of intellect and spell power on it. The Blacksmithing Crafted weapon is kind of a big bait because it doesn't have any intellect whatsoever on it. So if you were thinking about getting this crafted, just don't. It's a huge bait. We definitely want to go with the Nexus Heroic one. For gloves, we're definitely going to go with tier gloves. You know, nothing crazy here. They're basically by far your best glove option pre-raid. Your best belt is definitely going to be the Emblem of Heroism belt. This is just really well itemized, has a yellow socket. This is just a phenomenal belt. Just great belt to have. Like always with the legs, and like with any legs in any pre-raid BiS list, the Oculus Heroic belt or legs are going to be your best in slot, and they're just super good. Your best boots are definitely going to be the Wormrust Accord Exalted boots. You should be able to obtain these and throw a little tier in them for the socket bonus of +4 intellect. Going to be your best boots for sure pre-raid. Although I will give a quick shout out to the Revenant's Treads if you want to get these crafted from leatherworking, in case you weren't able to hit Exalted with Wormrust Accord before you started raiding. Your best rings are going to be the Titanium Spell Shock ring, as this is going to give you a lot. Where did it go? Here it is. A lot of intellect base, as it does have that socket on it. Not many rings can give you this much amount of intellect pre-raid. This is super good for you. And then, like I said earlier, your Argent Crusade ring is going to be your next best. Now, I will give a quick shout out to a couple other rings since we're on the subject. Something like Band of Guile is going to be pretty decent for you, although it just has a lot less intellect than what we were hoping for. This is, of course, going to be super contested with basically every single caster who wants it because it has 50 haste rating on it. Another decent option is even Signet of the Curator. A similar option with Band of the Guile, as it just doesn't have a whole lot of flat intellect on it. Despite being a really well itemized ring, it's just not quite great, and we will replace it. But if you have 8.5k gold to spare and you just wanted to throw something on, you could absolutely get the Signet of the Curator ring. And even the Utgard Keep ring is decent as well. That's essentially it for all rings. For trinkets, we of course go with Darkwind Card Greatness, the intellect. This is going to last us a very long time. And then our next best trinket is our Phase BiS as well, the figurine of the Sapphire Owl with the 2 gem sockets that we're able to throw pure intellect in as well. Even the on use is decent too. This is going to be your best in slot for PvP as well. So just a solid trinket overall. Nothing too much to see here, although I will give a quick shout out to a couple other trinkets along the way, just because you have to have JC to get this, and you have to have a boatload of money to obtain a greatness. A couple other trinkets that we do like to recommend in this role, or in this socket or slot, would be Spark of Life. Spark of Life, of course, coming from Halt of Stone, has a lot of haste on it, and that equip proc is pretty decent too, with a good amount of MP5 on it. And we want to give a shout out to Badge of the Infiltrator. This is a quest item coming out of Zoldrak, has 46 intellect on it. Pretty decent, not too shabby. It's definitely not your best, but it's a pretty decent trinket to hold you over until you get Figurine, for example. Your best Librum is for sure going to be the Librum of Renewal. This is a Emblem of Heroism Librum that you definitely want to spend like your first 15 emblems on, as this is your Phase BiS, and going to be super good for you for a long time. Now let's get into the phase 1 full BiS. Definitely some interesting points here to go over. Some non-negotiable and some very negotiable. Your best in slot helm is going to be face guarded the succumbed. Pretty easy to obtain. I mean, it's a plate spell power helm. You're pretty much guaranteed to get this once it drops. Your neck piece is one of those areas where there's a lot of room for wiggle room here. I'm going to recommend just in general you get the 10-man version of the EOE quest neck, because I think this is just a really good choice for you. I think it's more realistic to obtain something like this than other necks in the game because it is from 10-man. The Lifebinder's Locket, which is the 25-man version of this neck, is just never going to go to you. It's just so unrealistic to think that you're going to get the quest item off of Sapphiron just for this neck piece. It is just not going to happen. Cosmic Lights, however, is decent, pretty solid neck piece that I think you could absolutely run in your neck piece slot if you were able to get your hands on it. Another decent option could, of course, be Ceaseless Pity, or even you could go with Titanium Spellshock Necklace, your pre-raid BiS. This is a great option. I even know some people who would instead of going with the Torque of the Red Dragonflight, they would intentionally go with the Hit Haste option from that same quest item, Chain of the Ancient Worm. You could go with this as well because it does have haste. You're wasting the hit rating on it, of course, but it does have a socket on it, which is decent. So there's some wiggle room here for sure. But I think what's realistic is eventually getting your chance at having the Torque of the Red Dragonflight. Just getting that quest item is the most realistic, best way to obtain your best neck, in my opinion. Now, your best shoulders are going to be the tier shoulders. Now, here we are. We have 4-piece tier 7. This is pretty important for us as it reduces the cost of Holy Light by 5%. This is going to last a super long time in Ulduar. In fact, if I remember correctly, you actually don't replace your 4-piece T7 until you actually have 4 pieces from Ulduar. Just straight better value to replace all 4 at the same time. I could be wrong about that, but that is how valuable 4-piece T7 is for you. Definitely want to get your hands on it as soon as you can and hang on to it for a very long time. Thankfully, the shoulders are really easy to obtain as you just need emblems for them. Now, technically, your best cloak is going to be Pennant Cloak. Of course, it's pretty unrealistic that you're going to obtain this, so most likely you're just going to run with something like Shroud of Luminosity, and that's completely fine. It's just a worse version of Pennant Cloak, and that's no problem at all. You should be able to see a good amount of Shroud of Luminosities drop, as they do have a shared loot table on multiple bosses and knacks, so don't worry about it. Just get your hands on this and hang on to it for Ulduar. But if you can, go for Pennant Cloak, because I think that is technically your BiS. Valorous, of course, we're going with tier chest here. Bracers, these are Holy Paladin bracers through and through, plate wrists that are definitely your BiS. Now, weapon is interesting. So of course Turning Tide is our best slot for the phase. Couple things to keep in mind. Turning Tide is of course your best in slot for your mages and your warlocks as well, and odds are you're going to have multiple warlocks in your raid who are going to want Turning Tide. Another thing to keep in mind is you actually are likely going to be the first choice to obtain Valinir in the very next phase. And knowing that you're about to get a legendary item, giving you this sweet, juicy 226 eye level from KT weapon is likely not going to be a priority for your loot council. So you are probably going to be pretty low on the priority in obtaining something like the Turning Tide, for example. Getting this on a Holy Paladin is pretty tough. You're better off getting something like Torch. Now, thing about Torch is this is your de facto healer weapon of choice for the entire phase as well. But this is also your best in slot for your Shadow Priest, your Boomkin, your Eli Shaman as well. So not only do all the other healers want Torch, but so do those casters who can't use a sword, like Turning Tide. So you're also competing with them for that. So then your next best choices are going to be something like Hammer of the Astral Plane or Life and Death, which are basically identical in stats. One coming off of KT and Next 10, and one coming off of Gothic and Next 25. So either way between these two, you could probably get by with just fine. You're gonna be running one of these 3 weapons going into Ulduar most likely, just to be prepared. However, technically Turning Tide is your BiS, and if that is your BiS, then we may as well just put this as your BiS as well, because technically it is. Now, Voice of Reason is definitely your best in slot shield. You will be, of course, competing with this with other Holy Paladins, Resto Shamans, Ellie Shamans, and that's basically it. Of course, we're going with tier gloves because we need the tier 4 piece. Your best belt is going to be an uncontested, just Holy Paladin belt, dropping off a couple bosses in Nax, so you should be able to get this no problem whatsoever. And same thing, we're going with tier pants. We are going to go with Poignant Sabatons as our best in slot boots. What's nice about these is we can throw our tier in it and get a +4 intellect socket bonus there as well. Quick shout out to, of course, Boots of the Healing Energies. These are pretty nice, plus they are 226 eye levels, so you may as well just grab them anyway because no one else is going to use them because they are plate. Hang on to them and use them as a Flame Leviathan set, or just use them if you aren't able to obtain Poignant Sabatons, as these are BOE. And them being BOE means that they're probably going to be super expensive if your guild is just unlucky in obtaining them. So one of those two will do you just fine. Now, the rings are definitely an interesting point. There's a lot of ring options for you for Holy Paladin. Your two best are definitely going to be Signet and Seized Beauty. Now, Seized Beauty is going to be super easy to obtain as it drops off multiple bosses in Nax. However, Signet's going to be one of those, just like Turning Tide. It's your best in slot caster ring. Odds of you getting it are going to be pretty slim. So another decent choice could potentially be Renewal of Life for you, as this gives a good amount of intellect, spell power crit, MP5. Pretty decent ring, and it's only coming from Emblem of Valor, so no problem whatsoever. You could also run with something like the Titanium Spell Shock ring, like we talked about in our pre-raid, or even Signet of Hopeful Life. Having 50 intellect is actually the largest amount of base intellect on any ring in the whole entire phase. So there's a lot of options for you to run here in ring, so I wouldn't get too caught up in the fact that you maybe can't get your hands on Signet, as you can find a decent option for you to hold over until Ulduar for your phase 1 BiS. Not a problem whatsoever. And again, our trinkets do not change whatsoever. I do want to give a quick shout out to Soul of the Dead, as in a red flag warning of Soul of the Dead. Of course, if you aren't JC, this is probably your best in slot, going to be a little bit better than that quest trinket that we saw, or maybe better than Spark of Life, but Soul of the Dead is a big bait trinket. It is not as good as you think it is. It genuinely isn't. We aren't really too interested in getting a whole lot of crit rating as Holy Paladin. We will obtain it, of course, naturally, just by stacking so much intellect and having some crit on our gear here and there. What we care about more is haste, and the Soul of the Dead is just not going to do nearly as much as just a flat amount of intellect will for your gear. That 900 mana genuinely is just not going to give you a whole lot, and the equip proc chance on it is just not great. It's a big bait. It's a chance on a crit to restore mana. It's not good. It's not that good. It genuinely isn't. Genuinely is. I would avoid it at all costs if you can. Just, you should be JC in general, because everyone knows that jewel crafting is best in slot. So when you see Soul of the Dead drop, just disenchant it. Just straight up disenchant it. It's not good. And we're still running with the same Libram, of course. This Libram is just absolutely insane for Holy Paladin. We're going to keep using it into Ulduar. That's it for the Holy Paladin BiS list video, boys. Thank you for watching. We will have more BiS lists coming soon. I will have more videos coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the love and support. Thanks so much. Feel free to share this with other Holy Paladins that you want. You know, there's a lot of contested items on this BiS list. I feel really dirty about putting this one out more so than I have others, because there's no way you're getting this neck. There's no way you're getting Pennant Cloak. There's no way you're getting Turning Tide. There's no way you're getting this ring. So many parts of this BiS list just feel off to me. But I just wanted to provide for you the best possible list that I could. And of course, just like with every warning that I have with every BiS list, is these EP values are just placeholder EP values. Do not put too much weight into them. They are just used from previous TPC values, or just customly changed for myself, just to help me get my thoughts in order to build out this BiS list for you. Now, use it as you will. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.